Hello, welcome to Image Bearers. This is season 2, episode 33. I'm very excited today to have on the show Alfredo Valentin. He is coming to us from BK Apologist. So for those of you who have been considering starting a YouTube channel in perhaps 2021 or the end of 2020, I think you're in for a special treat today. So again, Alfredo has a YouTube channel. It's called the BK Apologist, and he'll kind of break that down a little bit as we go. So again, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you for having me, bro. How do you say it? It's Ultima?
Atoma.
Atoma. Yes.
Yes.
Pleasure to be here, Atoma.
So BK, I think you said stands for Brooklyn, right?
Brooklyn. Brooklyn is the borough, one of the 5 boroughs in New York City. I'm born and raised Brooklyn kid. And the word apologist just means apologia in the Korean Greek means to give an answer. You know, when Paul tells Timothy to be prepared to answer for the hope that you have, that word is actually apologia. It's a legal term. It's to give a defense. So I'm a Brooklyn kid here to defend the gospel. So that's where the BK Apologist moniker comes from.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So tell us a little bit about yourself, you know, how you're doing, and also how the church in New York, I guess maybe specifically Brooklyn, is doing right now.
Sure. Well, I've been a disciple now for about 30 years. My full name is Alfredo Valentin. I am Puerto Rican. I am what you would call a New Yorican because I'm actually born and raised in New York. So, you know, depending on which Puerto Rican you ask, they might not claim me as Puerto Rican because I was born in New York as opposed to island, but that's a whole different story. But I claim I am Puerto Rican. I've been happily married now for the last 17 years. And yeah, I was in Brooklyn for the first, oh my gosh, it's been now, well, I'm actually in the Manhattan church now. I've been in the Manhattan church now for about the last 8 years.
Okay.
But I was baptized and I was, grew up in the faith in Brooklyn. But the last 8 years, it's been in the Manhattan church. And
so how's things? Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah. So in the church in Manhattan, it's it's the new normal, right? We had to completely put the whole ministry online, which actually I think is a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
We'll talk about that later. But it took some getting used to for certain people, and people have been faithful. We've baptized quite a bit. We've restored quite a bit, so that's been good. I think in the weird way, the pandemic has caused people to really look at their morality in ways that they haven't before. So we've been very fruitful, more so than usual because of the pandemic. And but it's not the same, it's organically, having Bible talk in Zoom is strange. I went to my first Zoom wedding this summer. Felt like I was spying on someone's wedding. It was very weird, but thank God that we have the technology that we can still have this type of fellowship, even if it's just from screen to screen.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, we've had a lot of heartache. A lot of family members have passed because of COVID.
Oh yes, that reminds me. I know that New York had some really high rates.
Yeah. When it first hit, it hit New York hard first before anybody else, and a lot of the members didn't catch it, but a lot of members' family members have been passed. So that was definitely heart-wrenching. But we've been good. We've been socially distancing. We wear our masks when we go outside. When we come home, we clean our hands for 20 seconds. We put on some, antibacterial liquid, and we still preach the gospel. So we're good. We're good.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So I know your channel, again, the focus is apologetics. So
yes, sir.
What made you decide to focus on apologetics for your channel?
Well, I mean, first of all, if you are a disciple of Christ, you have dealt with apologetics because, as I said earlier, it just means to give a defense. If you're inviting someone to church, if you're having a biblical discussion, people are going to ask or might even critique your faith, and you have had answers, whether Jesus is real or not, or is he God? Can we trust the Bible? Things of that nature. And we give a defense, so that's what apologetics is. What I do is called urban apologetics. Now, urban apologetics is the same as regular Christian apologetics, but it narrows the focus more on defending the faith against certain heretical teachings that target Black and brown people. Right. And not that white people are not involved. It's just these teachings focus on people that look more like me and you. So I'm talking about Nation of Islam, Nation of God and Nerves, Moors.
Have you ever had Richard Rodriguez on?
No, I have not.
Okay, we'll talk later. He has a good book, An Unsealed Indictment. A lot of people can try to attack the Bible and say that.
I've heard the book. Yes. Actually, I've been I want him on the show. I've actually sent out an email, so maybe you can. Yes, make some calls for me on my behalf.
Sure.
So Black Hebrew Israelites, the Kemetic community. So these guys usually focus on trying to get Black people away from the gospel. Mm-hmm. So me and a bunch of other people, we have decided that we're gonna make an apologia, a defense against these particular attacks. So that's for the most part, that's what I focus on. I also focus on making sure that the great work that's being done by doctors in academia, I try to bring them to my channel so that I get them from the ivory towers into the barbershops and bodegas of the world, so that us laymen who are in the cities, we get to get this data that usually just stays with the elite in academia. Right. So that's something I also try to accomplish as well.
So I think, like, for me, what I'm understanding is you basically try to go through and find some of the respectable, awesome, people that are out there and try to break down their, I don't want to say dry, but the information they put together into a more digestible format that people can understand and, take in. So what are some of the guests that you've had on the show so far?
I've had Dr. Gary Habermas. He's known for his extensive work on the resurrection. In fact, he's known for, it's called the minimal facts argument for the resurrection. And he only uses the most liberal, agnostic sources, right? So a lot of times they'll point a finger at us like, well, you're using stuff from other believers. He purposely uses material from non-believers to prove the resurrection. So that's amazing. I've had Dr. Michael Heiser. He's a Semitic scholar. He has a bunch of books, The Unseen Realm. He speaks a lot about the two powers in heaven from an ancient Near East perspective. I've had Dr. Eric Mason. He's been very outspoken about, just the injustice in the world. He has a book called Woke Church. I have Dr. Vince Bantu. He focuses more on ancient African Christianity, because for many people, they think that we didn't get the gospel until the slave master handed us a Bible, and that's far from the truth. And Dr. Bantu really helps us understand that is far from the truth. Daniel Darko. I've had Richard J. Middleton, who's in Southwestern Seminary right now. I've had, professors, people who are at the forefront teaching and doing the research. And I've been lucky enough to have them, and, we chop it up in my videos. So
what's been the response for people as they've been able to hear from some of these great people? And again, I think the big thing I would assume is like breaking it down into a format that people can understand. I mean, they're not going to read maybe like a legalese type of text at 200, 300, 400 pages. Right. You can break it down into a conversation. How's been the response?
Oh, it's been really, really good. And my guests have just as much fun as I do, because they never get to really let their hair hang out and talk about these nerdy things, but in a very cool and informal, place. So they enjoy it. They love it, so it's been a good response.
I think one of your guests asked to come back, didn't he ask to come
Absolutely.
back?
And he's coming back this Thursday. That's Dr. David Falk. He's the Egyptologist. Awesome. Yeah. He really, so.
That's awesome. So your channel's been in existence for about a year right now, right?
Yes, sir.
And it's grown, I think, pretty well, relatively speaking, about 1,600 subscribers or so.
Yes. I mean, for nobody like me, that's great, but when you look at YouTubers who have like 20 million subs, I mean, but for somebody who doesn't really have a machine behind them or anything like that, just, I think it's a good look for the first year. Mm-hmm. So.
Yeah, and I think I've had a chance to listen to a couple of your episodes. I definitely will be listening to more. And one of the things I really love about your show is your channel is how you have the Bodega Bible Talk.
Yes.
And how it's really more like a TV show. Can you break down Bodega and just the the aspect
Right.
of the TV show that
Absolutely.
streaming?
For those who might not know what in the world a bodega is, a bodega is a Spanish term for the corner market, the corner store. And I know different parts of America, they'll call it different things, but in New York, because there is a heavy Latin Caribbean influence, we call it a bodega. So even white people call it a bodega. Excuse me. So, and the bodega is very much like the barbershop or the hair and nail salon, meaning that it's an informal social gathering place where people will come and hang out and exchange information, joke around, hang out. And, because of the pandemic, it's been very difficult for us to have those kind of gatherings. So what I want to do was kind of bring that phenomenon into the digital sphere. So every Friday night, like a lot of people do in the hood, we go hang out in the corner, this time though via YouTube, and we'll talk about what we usually would talk about at the corner, but from a Christian perspective. So we'll talk about Star Wars, we'll talk about the election, we'll talk about, Breonna Taylor, but then we'll talk about cartoons. You know what I mean? We run the gambit, but it's all from a Christian worldview and a Christian perspective. Mm-hmm. That's every Friday night at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
So the aspect I want you to share about a little bit also is the streaming aspect, because I think you broke down the bodega aspect very, very well. But if you can maybe just share about the streaming aspect, because I think maybe 11 months ago or somewhere around there, you started streaming it as opposed to maybe just uploading it, or I'm not sure how it was done previously.
Well, I mean, when I first started, I would just upload, every once in a while, my church would let me go up on stage and do a quick sermon and what have you. So I would just upload those things and that would be it, okay. But I would get a very, very good response. So a lot of my friends, actually, some friends of mine who are also fellow urban apologists, there was a conference in New York City last August. And these guys, they're from different parts of the country. They were able to come down. So I was able to meet these guys for the first time. We just started talking. And they just felt like, listen, what you do is really, really good. You need to be a part of what we're doing because there's nobody in the East Coast doing what you're doing. So there's this open lane for you. I'm like, well, I didn't realize that was the case. And because there wasn't a lot of people doing what I was doing online from the East Coast perspective. Mm-hmm. So they just encouraged me, like, listen, you need to start providing more content, because you're good at what you do. So I took their advice, and I started, streaming content, and that was last August. So this August will make it my first year now doing that.
So what were you doing before that, as far as like content, when they recognize that
it was literally just it would be just my, if I do a sermon on a Sunday, or sometimes we'll have house churches, and I started recording house church sermons, and that's all I was uploading, nothing else. I wasn't doing anything else but that. So because of that, it was limited content. It was like every couple of months here's a new video.
Sure.
But they felt like you need to be more consistent. Like you have something to offer, and you need to be more consistent with your content. So that's when I started doing videos in my house, with my laptop.
So you were still doing apologetics then, but on a limited every 2 months or
well, I mean, I was doing apologetics.
As far as your videos, I meant more specifically.
Well, yeah, that's when I started doing more apologetics. Before it was just teachings, just sermons.
Got it. That's awesome. So what's been the impact? What's been the change that you've seen from the time that you've been streaming to how it was before, as far as just uploading? Have you seen a difference and maybe engagement and these kinds of things?
The fact that more people know who I am, it's funny. It's kind of like, if let's say you're a singer or a performer, when you're on stage, there's tons of people that know who you are that you don't know who they are at all. Mm-hmm. So now, people will just inbox me on Facebook, like, hey, I saw this video. And I'm like, I don't know who this person is. So, but they're encouraged and they want to support and, went to the next video. So that's very encouraging, I've had some opposition, which is very interesting. I've had videos made against me because of me preaching the gospel, so that's been, that's been also very interesting. That's something that you're going to have to look out for too as you continue on your travels in these interwebs. So that's been interesting. And meeting friends, becoming close with people that I've never been in the same room with,
Right.
which is very strange, but I guess that's par for the course now.
Mm-hmm.
So just really making great friends, learning from other people, being able to really to literally talk with people that I only have books from.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I said, Dr. Michael Heiser, I've read all his material, love his scholarship, and they're able to sit down and talk with him, and for him to say people need to see your videos. For him to say that, for me, it was like, wow, that was big for me. That's like Michael Jordan saying, hey, you need to keep playing because you're doing good. So
you said the right thing. I think for me, I don't know, it's a nerd thing, or maybe I don't even want to use that word. It's got a derogatory tint to it. But I think if I have people on my show too that write books, and when I have them on, it's like, yes, it's exciting to have like a a well-known author
absolutely
come on. So that's awesome. I want to back up real quick to the Bodega Bible Talk. I know you have, I think, 3 other hosts, if you will, that kind of come on with you.
Right.
Can you share about them real quick?
Yeah, it's well, it rotates. I have quite a bit of people. I have people like CMB, the ambassador, Apologist in Detroit, Michelle Turner. I have some women who are also amazing apologists. In fact, there's a spinoff now. It's the Bodega Ladies, and it's an all-woman urban apologetic crew.
Interesting.
And what they do is they do the same thing I do, but they go after false doctrine that are being taught by other women.
Okay.
So they focus, because if I do it, it looks crazy if I do it. It's like, oh, you're being misogynist. But if the ladies do it, it's different.
Right.
So they've become the best of friends, and they got their own channel, and you'll see a lot of them come on my show, and it's becoming kind of a movement. It's more than just a Friday night thing. Now it's the bodega is becoming a weird hodgepodge ministry of its own. So it's been great. It's been happening completely organically.
I think it's pretty amazing that you can actually have like your own TV show. I mean, that's really what it is. Right?
Basically.
You think back, I don't know however many years, like if someone told you you'd have a TV show, you'd think you had to be like some whatever and hired by whoever.
Right.
But you just create your own,
And that's it.
As long as you have good content and, you just keep putting it out there.
Being consistent with your content and having a good time doing it. Because if I'm looking at you and I see you're not having a good time, why should I continue watching you? So it's about having that content consistently, but also enjoying the fact that you're able to provide the content as well, because people could feed off your energy. So
good deal. So just, I guess, moving on to that, what would be some advice that you could give to people that are considering starting a YouTube channel or would like to grow their YouTube channel, coming into 2021? What would be some, best practices or advice besides what you already mentioned?
Don't wait until you have all the fancy gadgets to do a video. If you have a camera phone, you could start doing content. You just start doing content. Whatever ideas you have, go on your phone, press record, and upload it to your channel. And as you continue doing that, you start figuring out what your rhythm is, what kind of pocket you get into, like what you start noticing what topics you tend to lean towards, and of course you'll get commentary when people watch your videos. Hey, I really like this, or maybe did he really like that? And but don't wait until you have the lighting system and the cameras and the mics. It's like, if your phone can record, then start doing it. And it's like, oh, but it looks trash. It's like, don't worry about it. If people can hear what you're saying, it's actually your audio is actually more important than your visual. Because you can have the most pristine image, but if they can't hear what you're saying, they'll log off. So as long as people can hear what you're saying clearly, and as you continue and you start saving your pennies slowly but surely, you'll get something. When I started, I was at that time I was using like an 8-year-old Dell computer. I didn't even have a webcam or anything, And now, you know, I have a brand new computer. I'm using a Canon SM50 right now. I have a Blue Yeti mic. I have some key lighting happening. I got some RGB lights behind me, you know. So, but I didn't start with any of this. I started with a beat up all Dell computer, you know, and just start. Don't hesitate, you know. I mean, definitely pray about it, but don't wait until you have the perfect, you know, audio visual rig in your house, whatever. Get your phone. If your phone can record, start putting out your thoughts and feelings, you know, have some ideas, plan it out, and put out content on a consistent basis.
Mhm.
Every week, two to three times a week at least, so that people know that when they go to your channel, they can expect a new video uploaded. So be consistent with your content, and God will figure it out for you as you continue. You know, man makes plans, but God guides the steps, right? So, but you got to give them some steps. You know what I mean? So
No,
yeah.
very good, very good. I appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so I definitely will link all the information for your channel also in the show notes. I do appreciate again you taking time to join our channel for today.
Sure.
And I know one of the things that you mentioned, I think, as we discussed before we started, is that you're hoping to, hopefully have more, disciples on your show. So hopefully some will get a chance to see
Right.
this, and, hopefully you and I can get a chance to collaborate on more things, even moving forward.
Absolutely. If I could say one more thing, yeah, I
Sure.
think it's really important for our fellowship of churches to really support kingdom content creators.
Hmm.
You know, because there's a lot of us who have a lot of great ideas, who have a lot of zeal for the Word of God, who want to teach and edify, and you know, it's important that people know BK Apologist and you know, and others who have videos. Cal Spears, he has a channel now.
Hmm.
You know, and because you know, I hear disciples talk about other platforms that are not part of our fellowship,
Hmm.
and that's fine because we should learn from wherever we can, as long as it's sound doctrine. But you know, you have a lot of homegrown talent in the church.
Hmm.
You know, so as you know, so don't stop listening to those other podcasts, but start listening to your brothers and sisters that are in your church. You
Hmm.
know, and so please support kingdom content creators.
We probably should consider doing a like a YouTube or just a creators little mini conference sometime in 2021, because there are
Sure.
quite a few little YouTube channels out there,
Right.
and I'm sure podcasts and other things that
Right.
we can learn from each other. And I think even some of the guests that you've had on, to be able to find out
Right.
who they are, and you got different connections and different people I've had on, and just different people in general that we could try to work
Right.
together with. So,
Right. And there shouldn't be little YouTube channels with the amount of members in the church that we have who are online. And let's be frank, everybody's online now. You know,
correct.
so there's no excuse not to support other people who are doing, you know, incredible work. You know, and because a lot of times, you know, you want to do things, but it might not fit that particular criteria of the ministry you're in. You know,
Hmm.
so we get to fill that void for people.
Hmm.
You know, there might be certain questions or certain things that you might not be able to get answers from where you are in your particular neck of the woods, but then here we are to provide that content for you.
Hmm.
You know, so we want to provide that service. You know, so
Yeah, I think the last thing I'll say is that I think everyone has a story, has something that they want to share, whether it's one video or multiple videos over time. That I think having a YouTube channel, having podcast, whatever, is definitely something to consider. So
yes,
if you enjoy this channel, you enjoy this episode, definitely consider subscribing, clicking like. And as I mentioned, I will definitely include some more information for the Bodega episodes and the BK Apologist in the show notes. Thanks again for your time.
thank you, bro. Peace.